everybody. How are you doing today? Yeah, so like they said, I'll be talking about simple machines today. We're going to go really fast over a lot of different things. But if you decide to try and take the winter class with me, we'll go into a lot more depth and we're actually going to make some. So we're going to do a little bit of making stuff today, not super complex. But we're going to do a little bit of making stuff. So if you don't have it, it's okay. But if you have a ruler, okay, just one of these dudes, right? A pencil and some string and just an eraser or button or something, just something you can put on top of the ruler at some point. Anyway, so if you have those things, great. If you don't, oh well, whatever. You can just watch and learn and see what we do with them. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get my PowerPoint loaded up here. Okay. Let's start this puppy up. There we go. So yeah, my name's Grace. I think I've probably taught some of you guys before. I'm 36 years old. I live in Kunming, whoop, whoop, China. It's a wonderful city to live in. Just so I know who's here today, could I ask you to please type in your name, where you live, your age, your grade. You just type that in so I know like who I'm all talking to today. If you could do that, please. All right. Let's see, chat. Hi, Lulu. 4th grade, nice. Where else are we all from? 9 years old, nice, very good. Where do you live? China, Hong Kong. Annie, hi Annie. Canada, Yolanda, wow, Canada, that's cold. Hi Tony, 6th grade, hi Lisa. Hey, Ree 8 in Canada. Hi Ellie, 11, Max. Ah, your family is from Kunming. Cool, Jade, Jerry. Ah, yeah, nice to meet all you guys. So it seems like we got a lot of people in China or Hong Kong and some in Shanghai. Ah, you got your name when you went to Australia. Awesome, Jason. Danny from Suzhou. So we got a lot of people from China here today. We got some from Canada. So we are all over the world. I love it. I like it. That's the cool thing about these classes. We have kids from all over the planet right now. So yeah, let's just start off. What are some machines or some tools that you use every day? I can think of one obvious one. What's a machine you're using right now? What's a machine you're using right now? Yeah, a computer, right? Okay, now is a computer, do you think that would be a simple machine or is that kind of complicated? iPad? Yeah, no, right? It's complicated, right? Okay, if you look around you, okay, do you see any other machines? Maybe, oh yeah, scissors, boom. We got scissors, beautiful, yeah. Scissors, okay, scissors versus cell phone. Which one's simple? Scissors, right? Levers, ramps, hydraulics, yes. Rulers, I think I actually have a, I didn't bring my hammer up, but we have different types of tools, right? So, you know, here's a tool, right? Here's actually a machine, stapler, right? So all these different little simple tools that we use every day. So you use tools a lot, and some of them you use more, some of them you use less, but they all kind of operate with some of the same basic ideas. Yeah, almost everything. You know, maybe like your clothes wouldn't qualify as a tool. All right, so yeah, we use a lot of tools in our world. So the book that we're going to use today is called Simple Machines. It's by a dude named Lewis Parker. So we say, thank you, Mr. Parker, for writing such an excellent book. So we're going to go through a lot of it, but we're not necessarily going to go through all of it. Whoa, yeah, you guys, you keep going, your pencils, pulleys, yeah. So we're going to actually talk about what are some of the different classifications. There's 6 main classifications of machines, simple machines, and we're just going to talk about how they work and how they do what they do. So here we go. Oh man, check it out. This book is by Perfection Learning, so you know it's going to be the perfect book. Am I right, kids? Whoa, look at this machine. Let's look here. Lot going on. Lot going on with this machine. Okay, so we have this little like squirrely thing here. What, did anyone know what that would be when it has this kind of like squirrely little bit here? Yeah, we would call this a screw, right? So this would be an example. It's a screw. And then we have like a ramp here. That would be an example of another thing called an inclined plane. We can't see a lot of what's going on with this, but we can assume there's some types of, on the conveyor belt down here, that's scooting these little guys along, the cups along. I don't know what it's making, but it's pretty exciting, isn't it? Like there probably is some type of like wheel and thing going on and some pulleys being used. So you can actually see here, this is a fairly complicated machine, and actually we would call this a complex machine. So we're going to talk about the different parts that can make up a machine like this. Okay. I don't know. Would you like to get a drink, like some of whatever is being poured into those cups? Like that looks pretty delicious, right? Okay, so I'm just going to read real quick. All right. People have used machines for thousands of years to get work done quickly and easily. Just imagine if there were no machines. All the work would have to be done with your own muscles or the muscles of animals like horses. When scientists talk about work, it's not exactly the same as the kind of work that people get paid to do. Scientists define work as a force acting on an object to move it across a distance. Okay, let's pause there. Boop. Okay, so when I work, okay, we're not necessarily talking about like ka-ching, mula, mula, mula. I put a force, which is a push or a pull, to move something a distance. Okay, so right now I have this bottle here, this bottle of pop. Watch. Okay, so it's on my desk. I'm gonna push on it. Oh, I'm pushing on it, so much force. But did the bottle move? Did it go anywhere when I pushed on it? Did the bottle move? Is it moving? Can you see it moving? No, it's not moving. So even though I'm doing a lot of force, I'm putting a lot of force onto this bottle, it's not going anywhere. I'm not doing any work. I could get myself, whoa, knock something over there. That's exciting. I could wear myself out. I could put so much force onto this bottle. But if I don't move the bottle, I'm not doing any work. Okay? So you're not doing work if you're not creating any type of movement in science. Okay? All right. So gravity, electricity, and magnetisms are examples of forces. So a force is just something that can generate a push or a pull, right? So I can push on this bottle, I can pull on this bottle, right? I'm pulling on the bottle now and it's not going anywhere. I'm applying force, a push, a pull, but if the bottle doesn't move, no work is getting done. Okay? The motion must be in the direction that the force is applied. Okay, I gotta move my little screen here so I can read the words. Machines make work easier in several ways. They can move the force from one place to another. Machines often change the direction of a force. They also can increase the strength of a force. So that means that you can just maybe you push something a little bit and it will actually make the force greater. Okay. They also can increase the strength of a force and increase the distance and the speed of a force. Wow, this just seems like Harry Potter type like magic. Like, oh my goodness, like what, you can make the force greater just with a machine? Yeah, it seems like magic. It's as magnificent as magic, but it's not magic. You might think of machines as being big and noisy with lots of moving parts. A train, a washing machine, and a bulldozer are some big noisy machines. But some machines are small and hardly make any noise at all. A hammer is a machine that is small and quiet. So are nutcrackers, an axe, scissors, pliers, and a loading ramp on the rear of a truck. No matter what their size, machines make work easier to do. Okay, so imagine life without scissors. Is this a very loud, complicated machine? Is it a loud, complicated machine? No, it's pretty simple, right? But imagine your life if we didn't have scissors. Like, how would you cut things? Like, it would be really hard to make accurate cuts. It would be it would take a lot of time to do a little bit of work, right? Or a hammer, right? So imagine, you know, I have to put in a nail without the hammer, that, you know, and I just have to kind of like push on it with my hand. That would be difficult, right? So work is made a lot easier with machines. All right, so work basically force times distance. Okay, so you put those things together, you get work. Okay, an important concept here, guys: the amount of work doesn't change before and after you use a machine. Like, what's changing though is the amount of force or the amount of distance that's happening. So force and distance, those things will vary, but the total amount of work is going to remain the same before and after. So like, you know, walking, like climbing down a ladder versus taking the stairs. If you're going the same distance, climbing down a ladder and taking the stairs, the same amount of work is getting done. But when you take the stairs down, it's a greater distance, but you're not having to use as much force to move down the stairs. So the same amount of work is done though, either way. Important concept. And a Casio charm would work, huh? Possibly. Harry Potter fans? Yes. All right. So question for you. 1,000-kilogram boulder. You have to move it or a lion's going to eat you. Okay, so you have to figure out how to move this boulder. What are you going to do? Okay, so again, maybe you could do like, what are the Wingardium Leviosa, the Harry Potter floaty thing, right? But we don't want magic, we want science. So you have to, oh yes, whoa. William, boom, use a lever. Simple machine, yes, use a simple machine, right? So a lever is a great option. There's a few other things that you might be able to do, but a lever would certainly be wonderful. So on that note, let's get into our first wonderful machine, a lever. All right, so we're just going to go over here to lever because we've already talked a bit about simple machine, which is just is one piece. There's actually 6 simple machines: lever, pulley, wedge, and screw, inclined plane, and a wheel and axle. Okay, there's also complex machines, which is when we take multiple machines and we smash them together to make a bigger machine. Pretty simple concept. All right, so as William, our brilliant panelist William said, lever is a great idea. Okay, so a lever was probably the first simple machines human discovered. Thousands of years ago, people used levers to move large rocks or heavy logs. You can move an object a lot easier with a lever by picking it up and carrying it. A seesaw, a wheelbarrow, and scissors, bottle opener, and stapler, crowbar, and paper punch are all levers. Whoa, stapler, right? Here we go. You see that? You got the little lever here. Imagine trying to bend this little screw bit here without using, or this little like stapler here. Imagine trying to do that without that. That would be a lot of work, right? So yeah, these are all examples of levers. All right. Whoa, what happened to him? He's like, oh no, my head fell off into the leaves and now I gotta get this pumpkin off. Ooh, horrible. So yes, as you can see here, this is a pumpkin skeleton with a crowbar, which is a lever. We'll talk about what kind of lever. All right. So when we talk about levers, there's actually 3 classes of lever. Okay, but we'll talk about what a lever is first. A lever is a stiff bar. Stiff just means like it can't bend, so like this can't bend. A stiff bar, a lever needs 3 parts: a fulcrum, which is the pivot point. So like if this is a stiff bar, the fulcrum would be my finger, the point where it moves. Okay, a fulcrum can be anything, including a brick or a rock. The object that is moved is the load or resistance. The force that is applied to the lever is the user's effort. Levers can be divided into 3 classes. Everyone say 3, 3, 3. Okay, yeah, good. I heard you say it. All right. First, second, and third. A first class lever, that's what we're going to talk about first. Okay, so here we are. Boom, first class levers. Back to William. Okay, said first class lever. Suppose you wanted to move a large and heavy rock. You might use a long crowbar. One end of the crowbar would be placed under the load, which is the, the huge rock. You might use a small rock near the large rock as a fulcrum. So just, can you guys say that word fulcrum? Fulcrum, right? It sounds like a good video game character name or something. My name is Fulcrum. Okay, so again, here's my hard, stiff rod, and then the fulcrum would be my finger. So the fulcrum is the thing that allows it to pivot. Okay, so you might use a small rock near the large rock at the fulcrum. You would apply the effort on the upper end of the crowbar, which is now the lever. And a first class lever, the fulcrum, is between the load and the effort. The effort arm of the lever is the area from the fulcrum to the effort end. The load arm of the lever is from the fulcrum to the load end. A pair of scissors is an example of combining two first class levers. One fulcrum is it is easier to cut something if the material is close to the fulcrum. When you do this, you have shortened the arm load, but the effort arm is the same. Another example of a first class lever is a seesaw. So hey, actually this is like, ooh, it's snowing, awesome. You could use hydraulics, but a hydraulics would be a complex machine and we're just doing simple ones. Okay, so when you're cutting paper, like, you know, if you're cutting it here, it doesn't work. Like if you cut it from way out, like you cut it in closer to the fulcrum, it's a lot easier to cut, right? So there's a scissor hack for you. Sometimes, like I see people cutting and they're cutting like way back here. I'm like, where are you cutting at the end? Going close. And yeah, anyway, so when you're cutting, cut close to the fulcrum. Anyway, you get more power. All right, so here we go. You can see there the fulcrum, right? The load arms, that's what's doing it. And the effort, that's where, right? So I'm putting in the effort on this side, right? I don't cut, I don't cut by doing this, right? I put in the effort on this side, okay? All right. So EFL, okay? So you notice EFL or LFE, either way, it's a first class lever, okay? So an example of this actually is like a seesaw, okay? So right here we have LFE, right? Load, fulcrum, effort, right? So this guy's getting tossed up into the air, this guy's going down, and now it's an LFE. But then when this dude comes back down, ka-ching, right? When he goes back down, the fulcrum stays in the middle, the load gets catapulted up. So if you think about it, it would be like LFE, EFL, LFE, EFL, LFE, EFL, LFE, EFL, right? And so fulcrum's still in the middle regardless. Here we go, right? So the effort is when they go down to land, they smack the other guy up, right? You could watch this all day. It's kind of hypnotic. The fulcrum's just the little pivot point in the middle, and they take turns being the load, right? So pretty straightforward. What about rulers? Yes, we will use rulers. They are a tool, but they're not so much a machine, but we're going to make them into a machine. Mark my words, Yolanda. We will turn our rulers into machines today. So here we go. So yeah, actually what I wanted to do now, okay, go ahead, take your ruler, okay, and I want you to take your pencil, okay, so, and I want you to set your ruler on top of it like that. Oh yeah, look at that, look at this, first class lever. Life is so exciting here, okay, and let's go ahead, let's actually build ourselves a little first class lever here. Okay, so let's take our ruler. So we have this middle thing, this thing in the middle, this doohickey. What do we call the doohickey? That allows it to do the pivoting. What do we call that? Yeah, it's too simple. Yeah, but they're simple machines. Yes, very good, Yolanda. Fulcrum. Okay, so I'm gonna put a button there. Okay, now watch this. Woohoo! Right? So exciting. So first class lever. Wham bam a lam, there you have it. Okay, so first class lever, EFL, fulcrum's in the middle, or LFE. All right, so we're gonna go quickly over second and third class levers. I'm gonna show you pictures. I'm not gonna read all the text. I know, what? I'm not gonna read everything. It's real sad. Okay, so second class lever now. This is when the load is in the middle, okay? And then the effort and the fulcrum are on our either side, okay? Examples of that, nutcrackers, or wheelbarrows. Wheelbarrows are also an excellent example of that, okay? And I'll show you some pictures that illustrate it a little bit better than just me reading, because you guys can also read, okay? And then the third class of levers, the ones that are just third class citizens, these are actually frequently used in sports. So for an example, a baseball bat, whack, a hammer, okay? So what's happened with the third class levers now is now the effort is in the middle. Sorry, I have to think about it sometimes. Like where goes what? The effort's in the middle, and then load and fulcrum are on either side. So like your baseball bats. Anyone play baseball? Or maybe, okay, Canadians, hockey, eh? Right? The hockey sticks, like how you swing the hockey stick, that would be a third class lever. If you like to fish, anybody like to fish? Does anybody like to eat fish? Okay. If you go fishing, yes, okay, you use your fishing pole. That's also an example of a third class lever. And so what's changing here is what kind of goes in the middle. So you remember for our first class levers, the fulcrum is in the middle, okay? In our third class levers, we have our fulcrum on the end, and they change places. So it's not too hard to remember, but yeah, we'll go look at some pictures now. Yay, pictures! Or rather, I prefer GIFs. Okay, so Elf! Oh, Santa! Anybody ever seen this movie? Great movie. So you see Elf and Fle. Okay, Fle is elf spelled backwards. The load now is in the middle. So these are our second class levers. So you can just think like Santa's little helpers are super excited about second class levers, right? Nutcrackers, right? Because in the winter we like to eat nuts. Okay, so if we look here, like I said, wheelbarrow is an example of a second class lever. Brain freeze. It's not the computer, it's my brain. Okay, so it can be ELF or FLE, right? I could flip this picture around, it would spell elf, but right now it says fle. Okay, so the fulcrum, the thing that's allowing the pivot, is the wheel, right? The load is Maggie and Bart. Okay, so like Bart, it's gotten himself into trouble, and now Lisa pushing up that barrel, that's the effort. So FLE. If we look here, all right, where's the pivot point? Where's the pivot point? Where's the fulcrum? Okay, where it allows it to move, right? This bit back here allows it to move, right? So you can see pivot point, and then the resistance, the load is here, right? The middle part. I put the effort down on the end, right? So a stapler, whoa, second class lever, piece, yo, second class lever, right? All right, now when we go to our third class levers, this is when our effort is in the middle. So I know, spending a lot of time on levers, but levers are important. So boom, there you have it. So this is when the effort's in the middle, like you fell or you left, like this is your third class lever. So when we look at these, okay, this dude fishing, he's pulling in like a huge fish. Okay, actually it's a shark fishing video. So yeah, hopefully it's not too big because it might eat him if he gets it up onto the beach. So he's pulling with his arms, right? The fulcrum though is like back at his hips. The effort though is being applied in the middle, and then the load is a fish saying like, "Don't eat me," trying to swim away, right? So fishing. Okay, that would be an example of a third class lever. All right. So yeah, William, you already got this, right? 1,000-kilogram boulder, first, second, or third class lever. Okay, so let's go back to this. Okay, here's our massive boulder. Okay, pretend I spelled second right there. Okay, so there's our massive boulder. Okay, where am I going to put my pivot point? Am I going to put it? It's going to go in between, right? So my pivot point's there. So we have E, I would go down on, I would push down, and then I have my fulcrum in the middle and my load on the end. That would be a EFL. That, not third, if we go back. So the fulcrum's in the middle here. The fulcrum's in the middle, the fulcrum's in the middle, the fulcrum's in the middle, middle. That would be a first class lever. Do you guys see that? It'd be first class because the fulcrum is still in the middle. But I think what you guys are getting a little confused on is I can change how much effort it will take to move it depending on where I put the fulcrum, right? So if I put the fulcrum, like depending how close I put the fulcrum to the load. So if I put the fulcrum really close to here, it takes very little to move it, right? But if I put the fulcrum further back away from the load, hey, work with me. Okay, if I put the fulcrum back here away from the load, okay, now it's actually going to take a lot more effort to move that boulder. Okay, so depending where you move the fulcrum, you can change how much weight you need to use to move it. So but the trade-off is if I move the fulcrum really close here like this, okay, it only is going to move a little bit, but I don't have to use much weight. But if I do it back here, it will move more. But I have to push down a lot harder. Okay, so yeah, the fulcrum still stays in the middle. So that would be first class lever. All right, so boom, there we have it. Again, you see effort, fulcrum, load, boom, shakalaka. William, thank you for that. All right, what kind of, okay, the hammer's a bit tricky. Okay, so think about what lever this might be. All right, so where is the fulcrum? Where is the effort? Where is the effort? So you see the effort is coming in the middle, the fulcrum is on the end. That would be effort in the middle. Yeah, the effort is coming from the arms. The effort is in the middle, okay? The effort's in the middle, and the fulcrum is the shoulders, right? Because they're swinging, and then the load is on the end. So that would be a third class. Yes, you guys got this. Good job. All right, we already did the ruler experiment or model of a lever. All right, moving on. Okay, pulleys. You guys already said this is a simple machine. A pulley is a simple machine. It's used to lift things. A basic pulley is made up of a wheel and a groove around the rope of a cable or the edge of for a cable or a rope. Can't read. When the cable or the rope is pulled, the wheel turns. If the end of the rope or cable is attached to a heavy load, you can lift the load more easily than if you try to pick it up. A pulley is a good way to raise an object straight up. Flagpoles, great examples of that. Your drills are great examples of that. Now, okay, this book explains a pulley a little bit complicated, but really you can kind of do it even simpler. You don't even necessarily have to have a wheel. I mean, you just have to have something round. Okay, so we can make a pulley-esque thing. Okay, so take your pencil. Everyone got the pencil? Okay, now take your string, yeah? Okay, now tie your string if you have an eraser or something. Like you can tie it, or you can like tie it to your stapler or your cell phone, whatever. Okay, all right, so go ahead. All right, real simple pulley, right? You're just here. Look, you pull down, and what will happen? It will come up. Whoa, didn't see that happening, right? These are extremely simple machines, but you guys get the idea, right? So we're just changing how the force is applied. So when I pull it down, it goes up, right? So you see this every day at school when they raise the school flag or the flag of China or flag of Canada or wherever you are. Okay, so that's pretty simple. But where it gets a little bit more complex is when we get over here to our movable pulleys. Okay, now movable pulleys, these are a bit like magic. Okay, they actually so you guys probably don't weigh more than like 50 kilos, I would think. But if I put enough movable pulleys and I attach it to a bus and I say, can you lift this bus? You can lift this bus, but you'll have to pull a lot of rope, because movable pulleys, what they do is they require a lot more distance to move, but they can but less force. Okay, so movable pulleys are a bit like magic. Okay, I'll show you a picture of what these guys are. Okay, well, this is just a basic pulley, right? Ooh, that didn't end well for him. Okay, so this is a fixed pulley. It's not a movable pulley. You see the pulley's just sitting up there. It's not going anywhere. And so the load gets lifted, the effort changes, right? The kid's wearing a helmet, so he's okay. All right, but when we get to the movable pulley, it gets a little bit more complicated. So I wanted to show you this video clip. This guy has an amazing accent, but it's a really clear video that kind of explains pulleys, fixed pulley versus movable pulley. So let's check it out. Is the volume on my computer? Is it on?
Comparison between single fixed pulley and single movable pulley. Now, let us learn comparison between them. Single fixed pulley, single movable pulley. It is affixed to a rigid support. It is not fixed to a rigid support. Load is attached to the rope. Load is attached to the pulley wheel. Mechanical advantage is 1. Mechanical advantage is 2. Effort has to be equal to load. Effort needs to be only half of the load.
Okay, do you guys catch that? So this guy, if this is a 50-pound box, he has to pull with 50 pounds of effort. If this is a 50-pound box, this person only has to pull with 25 pounds of effort. Okay, and we'll talk a little bit about why that is. Okay, so this guy, remember I said mechanical advantage of 1. This means it's not really actually saving how much muscle is needed, but it is changing the direction of the force, right? But this now is changing the amount of muscles needed, okay? The amount of strength needed to do it. So this has a mechanical advantage of 2.
Entire load is pulled by the rope. Entire load with pulley is supported in the middle of the rope. The pulley doesn't move up and down with the load. The pulley moves up and down with the load. It is used to change the direction of the effort in convenient direction. It is a force multiplied, and thus it doubles the effort applied. The pulley is used to raise small load. The pulley is used to raise a heavy load.
All right, so that is a movable pulley versus fixed pulley. All right, we're going to just talk a little bit more about pulleys here. Okay, so big thing here with pulleys is the more pulleys you add that are movable to a system, the less effort you need to move it. So the distance that you have to pull the rope, though, the trade-off is you have to pull more rope. You don't have to use as much strength when you pull the rope, but you just have to pull it a lot more. So right now, you know, this is like, okay, just woo, easy, right? If I add a movable pulley, though, I might have to just pull it. I might just have to very, very weak pull, and it will move, but it won't move as much because there's more rope now to do that. So the total work stays the same. It's not like when you add more pulleys that the work magically is less. No, the work remains the same, but the distance has increased. Does that make sense? Because yeah, you don't ever like get rid of work. So if we're looking at these guys here, which pulley would require the least amount of strength to move, the least amount of force, the least amount of effort to move the load? Yes, E, you guys got that. Okay, now this has something called N, which is it's called a Newton. It's the amount of force. Okay, so if this is 100 newtons here, how much force would I have to pull down with? So if this is 100 newtons, I would need to actually have 100 newtons of force to pull down with to make it go up. Okay, but for this one, I would only need 50 newtons. Okay, for this one, I would need, for C, I would need, I think, 20. This one would be 50. This one would be maybe like 35. This one would be 25. So the effort is less and less with the more movable pulleys, but I'm going to have to pull the rope a lot more down, but with less force on these other ones. So work remains the same. Okay, we already talked about that. Boom. All right, so if you look at like this little dude, does it look like he could just move? What is that? That's got to be like several thousand pounds of fish. Like this little dude right here, there's no way, even if his friend's helping him, there's no way he would be able to pick up all that fish. But actually what he has up here is a pulley system, a movable pulley system. And because of the movable pulleys, he's able to bring up all the fish out of the water. We see these a lot on commercial fishing vessels or anything that does a lot of hoisting. Like if you go to the shipping yards, yes, fish, delicious. If you go to the shipping yards and you see the like the big boxes that they ship things around the world in, a giant could eat them in 1 second. Also, he wouldn't need a pulley system. But yeah, if you go to a shipping yard or a fishing yard, you'll see a lot of the boats and a lot of machines that have movable pulleys. All right, moving on. Wheel and axle. Okay, these are very simple machines. They are very similar to the pulleys, and they have a round bit. Okay, but the wheel is fixed to a rod called an axle. The steering wheel of a car is an example of a wheel and axle. A car's wheel is also attached to an axle. The person who uses a wheel and an axle applies effort to the wheel to move the load at the axle. The distance around the wheel is usually much larger than the distance across the axle. The wheel and axle can be made so that they can turn at the same time. The machine might also be arranged so that the wheel turns the wheel, so that the wheels turn and the axle does not. Ah, man, my eyes are really tired today. Any skateboarders here? So yeah, skateboard. If anyone skateboards, this bit here, the truck, that's the axle, and then the wheel is just there. So the wheel pivots freely about the axle, and yeah, the truck doesn't really rotate with the axle or with the wheel at all. Yeah, you guys see these are pretty simple concepts. Okay, what are some machines you know that use a wheel and axle? Any ideas? Wheel and axle? Yes! Thank you, Ellie, for not leaving me hanging. A car! A car uses a wheel and axle. Anything else that you guys can think of? I'm looking at something over here. I'm looking at something over here. Scooter. Oh, yeah. What's this? This is my suitcase, right? We got wheels on our suitcases. Really useful. A trolley, a train. Yes, you guys got this. Wheel and axle. Boom. Right? Knew I could spend more time on levers. Aeroplane. Yes. Okay, look at this. Doesn't that look fun? Don't you want to try that? Okay. All right. So moving on to something kind of subcategory of a wheel and an axle, gear. Okay. So a gear is a wheel that has teeth that cuts into the outer rim of it. Okay, so this is a gear. It's a wheel. It has teeth. Okay. Oh, hey, go back. Hey, why did you do that? Go back. Okay. Each gear. So the gear teeth, they come together, and as it moves, they pull one another down. And then it transfers the effort to the other gear. So imagine, if I stop turning this gear here, that gear won't turn, that gear won't turn, that gear won't turn, right? So they're all connected together. Gears are actually super, super important. You can look here at your printer, right? Boom, there's my printer. Lots of gears in there, and if the paper gets stuck in it, it stops working. Very sad, right? So gears can work together to transfer the effort. You also notice, so this gear is turning one way. What way is the other gear turning? Right? The effort changes direction, right? So yeah, watches have a lot of gears. Actually, the Swiss are really well known for their gears. But gears, they switch direction every time they connect to each other. And it yeah, so your transmissions in your cars, they have a lot of gears, right? Of course, your car's not just like a little toy car. Like there's a lot of gears and things spinning inside there. um yeah, bicycle gear, great. So yeah, lots of gears. So if you look here, um I just want to point out, I want you guys to see this really clearly, the opposite rotation. So the gear turns one way, like gear A is turning one way, gear B and gear C are turning the opposite way, and then gear D is turning. So the rotation of the gear changes. Also, imagine now that these gears weren't turning and I could turn them. Which gear would be the easiest gear to move? Do you think gear A or gear D would be the easiest to move? Okay, like which one wouldn't I have to put a lot of squeeze into? Okay, so when I say easiest, I mean like, you know, I wouldn't have to move it, like I wouldn't have to use a lot of strength. Yeah, gear A, because gear A, okay, it's a big gear. I just move it a little bit. I move it a little bit, and it will cause this gear to move quite a bit. But if I want to move this gear, I'm going to have to really turn it quite hard to get gear A and gear C to move. Okay, and gear B. But if you look, gear A is a lot bigger. So every one rotation that gear A will do, gear C will probably do like 1.5, whereas gear D will do maybe 3. Okay, so gears are really useful for changing rotation, changing like clocks, for example. Like you have your second hand that goes really fast, your minute hand that goes really slow, your hour hand that goes really slow, and this is how it does it, right? Your minute hand would use a really small gear, your your second hand would use a really small gear, the minute hand the middle sized gear, and then the hour the larger gear. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, any thoughts? How could you make a simple wheel? I wanted to ask you guys to get, yeah, with a tire. Okay, what about without, you know, like a wheel already made? Like could you make it out of something? With rubber bands? Yes, there you go. Okay, I was just looking at my desk today and I was like, oh hey, I got buttons, right? Look at these cute little buttons. I got 2 cute little buttons. Look at this, man. I can go boom. So this would be my axle. Put it through there like that, and then right? Oh, I just took a paper clip. That's all this is, guys. It's a paper clip. It's like amazing. And now look at this. Look at this. I got my little, I made a cute little like machine here, right? I could even make this into a tricycle. Like it could roll. Well, it's not working so well, but it can roll around and roll down that way. So yeah, you can make wheels and axles super easy. Yes, bottle cap, brilliant, love it. Bottle cap and like a chopstick, you know, melt that cap through, jam the cap through, boom, you got a bottle cap. Yeah, I want to do this kind of stuff with you because like, you know, like being able to look at like the world differently and be like, oh, I could use this to make this and do that. Like you can solve problems, right? Like one of my big things that I hate is when people are like, oh, mais bon fa, I can't figure it out. No, there's always a bon fa, guys. We can always figure out a solution to these problems. You just got to be creative. So yeah, water bottle, rubber, tire. Okay, all right, moving on. Our next simple machine, we're gonna pick up the pace here a little bit because we got a couple minutes. Inclined plane. These are really, really simple. So an inclined plane is just a flat thing tilted, okay? Now you could use this to push something up. Like for example, if I had a big rock and I didn't want to carry it up a stairs, I could roll it up and that would be easier. If I was handicapped, it would be easier for me to roll up this than it would be for me to go up the stairs. But you know, if the stair is like this, right? The difference is now is it's a greater distance. So again, work remains the same, but the effort is going to be changed, right? So yeah, slides, wheelchair ramps. Actually, stairs are also an example of an inclined plane, but it's kind of a incremental inclined plane. Yeah, let's look at this real quick, okay? Have you ever gone hiking, like, you know, or you've gone up real steep mountain roads, you know that the roads do this. Why do they do that? Why do roads go like this? They make switchbacks across the mountain. Because why? You don't know. Okay, imagine you tried to go straight up this mountain without the road. So imagine there was just a road that went zip like that. Do you think your car could go up that? If the mountain is going to be like this? Yeah, it would be really hard on your car. Your car might not even be able to do it, right? And so what they do on steep mountains is they, instead of just going like straight up the road, they actually do a gradual incline, okay? They do these things called switchbacks, which are actually ramps that go up the side of the mountain. And what that does is it makes it so that your car can actually go up, right? Imagine you're riding a bicycle. If you had to ride a bicycle something straight up like that, you couldn't do it, right? But now you might be able to actually get up this, right? Trade-off though, is the distance the same as just going straight up the mountain? Is the distance the same? No, right? It's a longer distance, but you're not going as fast up, right? So it makes it so you don't have to do as much effort. All right. How do you think this kind of like incline plane, how does it help, like, you know, like people's in wheelchairs? Like, imagine like, yeah, imagine like you had to be in a wheelchair. Like, what would you do? How could you help someone in a wheelchair? You could build, right, a wonderful ramp, right? So yeah, you could use it to help them stand. Yeah, you could actually, you could also use a pulley to help them stand, right? But you could, yeah, gradually increase the thing. Yeah, that could work. All right, last one we're gonna do, wedge and screw. So I'm just gonna show you the wedge here. So what a wedge is basically two inclined planes back to back. Okay, so a wedge, examples of a wedge would be like this. This would be a wood splitting wedge, or an axe. That would also be a wedge. And what this does is, imagine you had to like just rip that log apart. You couldn't. But what this does is like it slowly goes in, and because it gets wider at the top, it pries the wood apart. Examples of wedges include like needles. So for example, you have yeah, this guy here, Bart Simpson, getting a shot. Which would feel better for you? A needle like this getting a shot, or a needle like that getting a shot? Okay, so we have, this is a real steep wedge, whereas this is a real fat wedge with a sudden incline. Which one would you prefer if you had to get a shot? Would you prefer a shot that had a really pointy needle like this, or a shot that was more broad needle like that? Yeah, you would definitely prefer, yeah, likely you would prefer the pointy, because the pointy needle, yeah, they both would suck. I agree, Yolanda. I hate both. But the pointy needle would be better because it wouldn't split your skin as quickly, so it would be a little bit less painful. It would still hurt, but it wouldn't be as painful. So wedges, what they do is they gradually increase that distance, and so it's easier to go in. It hurts when it's really hard to grab in, right? Like it's really hard to get in if it's a broad. All right, and then of course our last thing is the screw. So here we have some nuts going down a screw. Yeah, and we're kind of running out of time. Anyway, all right, so yeah, screw is basically an inclined plane, but it's an inclined plane. Here it is. Okay, it's an inclined plane wrapped around. So if this is my inclined plane, so I know this is string, right? But imagine it's like a piece of wood. It's an inclined plane that's wrapped around a point, and it allows something to slowly kind of go in. It's a bit like it's almost like a wedge in a way, but it's an inclined plane that's wrapped up. Anyway, we've ran out of time, and I want to make sure that I give you guys a little bit of time to ask questions. So I'm going to stop here, and yeah, let's have it. Anybody got any questions?
I'm just asking, why are the pictures so strange?
Why are the pictures so strange?
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes pictures illustrate better when you remember them. And so you can see like these little guys are screws going or nuts going down a screw. And so yeah, to help you remember them. That's why.
Okay. Thanks.
You're welcome. Good question, even.
Hi, Teacher Grace.
Jade, how are you?
I'm great.
Good.
Like my question is like, why is this machine is simple, but even like they work simple, but how they can work? Like, is there any more simple machine that move like that?
Well, these are kind of the most basic ways that machines can move. So what will happen though is we can take simple machines and we can put them together to make complex machines. Okay. And so an example of like a complex machine that is a lot of simple machines working together it could be like a bicycle, because you see here on the bicycle, there's a wheel and then there's a pulley because the gear is being pulled by a rope, right? Or by a chain. And so we put machines together to make complex machines, but there's only really 6 simple machines that we've thought about.
Okay.
Good question.
Okay, bye. Thank you, answer all the question. So thank you a lot.
My pleasure. Thanks, guys.